Hi class! So I'm going to show you now an important step after you have completed a thumbnail sketch that looks great and you are ready to put that onto your watercolor paper. This is very important because it is different than actually doing the sketch. Let's get going. So here I have my awesome thumbnail sketch of Mount McLaughlin with a nice barn down below and some grasses and things going. And now I'm going to take it from this stage to this nice big piece of watercolor paper. This paper is actually what's called a watercolor block, which is pretty cool. It comes in a nice little case like this, and it's all sealed down so the paper doesn't wrinkle up a bunch when I paint on it, which is very nice. However, when you do this, it doesn't matter what kind of paper you have, but if you don't have a block, you're going to have to secure it down to something so that it's not moving around on you a bunch. So now I've got this paper, and it looks great, except you'll notice it's completely blank. So step one, put on a border. And it doesn't have to be huge, but probably not too close to the edge, at least 1/4 to 1/2 inch of border. Up to you, depends on how big you want to make your final product here. I don't have a size requirement other than it needs to be at least as big as a piece of paper, so 8.5 by 11 inches. All right, so I'm going to get a border on here and then we'll come back to you. Okay, so now I have a very nice border on my paper, pretty even, pretty good looking. All right, so now when you do your thumbnail sketch, you're thinking about value, and you've got all these darks to show that it's really light, and then it gets darker, 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 darker. But which is perfect. That's what you need for planning out your painting and thinking about the values and what's going to draw the person's eye in. But now that you're on your watercolor paper, you don't want to do that. Instead, you want to do just very, very light pencil lines to get things on. So I'm going to put this down here for me in the corner to refer to. And you want to do some guesstimating. So when I look at the halfway mark, so here I'll mark it here, halfway, 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 halfway. All right, so now you can see when you look at it halfway, Mount McLaughlin is, slightly off center, but kind of close to the middle. So you won't find a similar place on here. And then you see it's halfway and then, halfway again. And you'll see it's a little bit taller than 1/4 of the way down. So I'll kind of guess about where I think the top of the mountain should be. And then I'll do my best to draw it in a very similar way, but lightly, very lightly. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So I think about right here seems right for the top of the mountain. So I'm just make a little dot right there, and then I'm going to look back at my picture and I'll see it about 1/4 of the way down or so. It hits the edge, so I'm going to make another little dot right there, and then I know that slightly in and a little down from that dot is actually where the mountain itself goes. And then when I look over here, way over here, and then a half again right here, and it's in between 3/4 and halfway, and so it's lower on this side. Make that dot, and then you see where Mount McLaughlin actually touches right there, and you go, okay, well, I think it's about right there. Okay, and then now it's kind of a game of connect the dots, right? And thinking about what types of things you like the line had. So it had like a slight roundedness there, so I'm going to try and emulate that same slight roundedness. And then I want to make sure that it goes, and then here, and it goes down sharper, and then this comes across here, and this comes across here. And then I know the next line down, I have some, you know, fairly consistent, but just some slight raises to it, maybe. Like that. Great. And so now I have a few of those lines, and then I'll be very, very carefully adding things like this little detail that I have there of where the different parts of the snow line are. And I'm gonna be just getting the main ideas of these, because I know when I do my painting itself I will get more detailed, but I don't need to draw every single detail of all of this stuff. I want to get just close enough like this so that later when I'm using my paint I can go and use those as a guide, but I don't want to get really detailed. I don't want to start shading or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to keep going with the same process all the way down. And when I get to the trees area down here, rather than actually doing every branch of the trees, I'm just going to do like just the outline of a tree. So let me make sure that I'm doing it in the right spot. Right here there's an interesting tree. It's a pine tree. And so I'm just going to create that pine tree. And that's it. It's this tree right here. And I don't do anything more than just a slight mark there for the tree. And then, you know, kind of following the tree line off. And then I know that the roof of this barn is right here. So I'm going to add that barn roof in. And I know there's a bush on the barn. And you can see that I'm not painting or drawing any shadows, any details really, so that it just looks kind of like a bunch of lines, and that's what it's going to look like when it's done. So I'm going to keep going on this, and I'll come back to you to show you the finished product. Okay, so here we are. I have my entire same painting figured out in very, very bland and simplified lines. It's just a few lines here and there to remind me of what it is I'm painting. And you can see it's consistent with my drawing, pretty close enough for this kind of thing. And this is going to turn into a really great painting when I'm done. And there you have it. So make sure no value, and just sort of the outline, like here, even in the super up close, see, I just made a few lines here and there to remind me how far up I think approximately the grasses should be. And then these, there was these particular cattail weeds that I thought were interesting and would look nice as something to emphasize in my super up close area. And here you can see I've done the same, but rather than making them dark and making them stand out like that, I've just drawn around the outside where I think they're going to be. I didn't put in all the lines of the spiky little thing because I want to do that with my paintbrush. All right. Good luck. Hope yours turns out great.